We're starting with breakfast, and of course I'm having some fruit while I'm cooking as I'm way too hungry in the morning these days. And my favorite has been nectarine, I just can't get enough. And then for my actual breakfast, I decided to make shakshuka, so I'm starting by chopping an onion in small pieces. And I love to add some pepper to my shakshuka, so I'm chopping up about half of this yellow pepper and then chopping it up in small pieces again. I grabbed my non-stick pan, added some olive oil and added my onion and pepper to saute for a few minutes. I seasoned with salt and pepper, stirred and let it cook for a few more minutes. I then added a can of chopped tomatoes plus some water and let it come to a simmer. For spices, I'm using paprika, chilies, garlic and cumin, so I'm adding all those in and giving it another stir. And while that's simmering, I'm cutting up a few slices of bread to toast. And this bread is so good, it's from Marks & Spencer, it's their sourdough seeded one and it's one of my favorites. So I added it to my toaster to toast and then I grabbed some sugar and added it to the shakshuka to make sure the tomato mixture isn't too acidic. And once the mixture has reduced, I'm adding my eggs. I seasoned with salt and pepper, covered with the lid and let the eggs cook through, and once they were cooked, I grabbed some fresh parsley and added it on top. And now it's time to serve, so I added 2 eggs plus lots of the yummy tomato sauce, and then since I didn't have any feta, I'm adding a bit of Greek yogurt. I serve my bread on the side and breakfast is ready. It's finally breakfast time. I can't wait for this. I'm quite sad because I'm out of feta, can you believe it? I made some flatbreads yesterday and I used all the feta because they were stuffed flatbreads with feta. So I used a bit of yogurt instead because I thought it would still give it a nice tangy flavor. So let's try and see what we've done. It's so good. I did the eggs so perfectly. Perfect. The yogurt gives it a nice creamy flavor. It doesn't give it that much tang like feta would. So if you have feta and you like feta, I would put feta in. But as a different kind of like variation, yogurt also works great and I'm very happy. Gonna have this plus some orange juice. So good. With the fresh bread, perfection. So good. For my morning snack, I'm making some lemon pancakes as I've been loving having something sweet after a savory breakfast, and these ones were so lemony and delicious they really hit the spot. To make them, I added some of this lemon flavored oats in my blender. I also added a banana for sweetness and some cottage cheese for some extra protein. I then cracked 2 eggs and blended it up into a smooth consistency. And now to make them, I just added bits of the mixture in my non-stick pan, and once bubbles appear, I flip them. And yes, I'm doing a very bad job at flipping them. I think I should have put less mixture, but oh well. Once they were all cooked, I served them on my plate and topped with strawberries and raspberries. Finally, I'm drizzling some Greek honey and my second breakfast/snack is ready. These smell so lemony and the consistency or like the texture looked a bit like crepe, so I'm very excited about this. It's so fluffy and so lemony, so good. I think a bit of Greek yogurt would also work great, or even some cottage cheese if you whip it or if you like blend it so it doesn't have the consistency of cottage cheese. It works, or some ricotta. So many possibilities in between a crepe and a pancake. It's very good. Gonna go enjoy.
For lunch, I'm making a mushroom and chicken risotto, a dish I find so comforting and delicious, and it always reminds me of the one my mom makes. To make it, I started by chopping up an onion, and since I want very finely chopped onions, I'm using my food chopper as I can't chop that finely. I'm also prepping my mushrooms, so I just peeled a bunch of them and then slicing them up in medium pieces. I then grabbed my big saucepan, added some olive oil and some butter in to melt. Once it was melted, I added the onion, seasoned with salt and pepper, and let it saute for a few minutes. If you're enjoying this video so far, by the way, and would like to see more recipes that taste like the sunshine, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future Mediterranean recipes. Okay, back to the recipe. I added the chicken pieces. I'm doing some chicken breast here that I'm just chopping it up with scissors, but you can do whatever cut of chicken you like, or you can skip the chicken altogether for a vegetarian version. I gave it a stir and let the chicken cook for a few minutes, and then I added my mushrooms. I gave them a stir and then seasoned with a bit of salt. And while the mushrooms are cooking, I'm prepping my vegetable stock, so I just added a veggie cube with some boiling water and mixed it ready to add to my risotto. I also added some crushed garlic cloves, and once the mushrooms had reduced inside, it was time to add the risotto rice, so I added that in and gave it a stir. And now I'm adding the stock slowly, so I'm just adding a ladle each time and then giving the mixture a stir, waiting for the rice to absorb the water and then repeating again with the rest of the stock. I also added some white wine vinegar as I didn't have any wine in the house, but if you have wine that's even better. And while the rice continues cooking, I'm chopping up a bunch of parsley to add at the end. And usually risotto takes about 40 minutes to cook, so I also decided to grate some parmesan to have ready to add towards the end as well. When the rice is done and there's still a bit of liquid left on the pan, I added my parmesan, gave it a stir, and then lastly adding my parsley and giving it a final stir. And now onto serving. I'm adding some rocket on my plate and then adding my risotto on top. I'm topping with a drizzle of fresh olive oil and a sprinkle of pepper. And since I love cheese, I'm grating some parmesan on top and lastly finishing it off with some fresh parsley.
This smells so good. I can't wait to tuck in. It's almost 3 o'clock. I love having a later lunch, especially when I've had 2 breakfasts really, so it's so good, so creamy. The rice is perfectly cooked and the chicken just gives it that extra bit of flavor and protein of course, but it's just so good, especially with the parmesan. I'm gonna put so much more parmesan, bit more pepper. So comforting, so tasty, and so easy to make. I know you have to stir it and like add things in, but I don't mind that. I find it quite relaxing doing it, so it depends how you see it, I guess, but I do love a risotto. I'm gonna go enjoy sitting down. It's so good.
For dinner, I'm making a super quick recipe that doesn't compromise on flavor. This one is perfect if you had a busy day and just want a quick and delicious dinner. To make it, I added some olive oil to my pan. I then added a can of butter beans that I rinsed well and stirred them around to get coated in the olive oil. I seasoned with salt and pepper and let them cook for a few minutes. For my beans, I'll also be using some pesto, lemon zest and some olives. So I'm doing the zest of the lemon using my grater and giving it a good mix. I then chopped the olives straight into the pan, and I'm not sure I like these olives, they are so tight and it takes forever to remove the stone, but they did taste good, especially in this recipe. Lastly, I added my pesto. I'm using the Tesco Finest, which is so delicious, but if you have homemade pesto, that's even better. I gave the beans another stir and let them cook for a few more minutes with the pesto. Lastly, I finished with some fresh basil leaves, and to serve my beans with, I had some leftover flatbreads from the day before. Some are stuffed with feta and some are plain, so I'm just warming them up in a small pan to have with my dinner. And when the flatbreads were warmed through, I'm having some of the beans on a bed of rocket and topping with some ricotta. Lastly, I'm doing a bit more lemon zest on top and our super quick dinner is ready.
This came together in 5 minutes. It was so quick to make, and once I put the lemon and the pesto, it smelled so good. So I can't wait Feels very summery. I think cooking the beans in a bit of olive oil in the beginning has definitely improved their texture. They're very nice and soft. Because sometimes when you get them from the can, they can be a bit weird texture, but this has made them so soft and so nice. The ricotta as well. So good. Such a quick dinner idea. If you don't have a lot of time and you can't be bothered to cook, this is perfect. And so delicious, which is the most important thing. I'm gonna go enjoy with James, see what he thinks. He requested this, so. And the best part is I have leftover flatbreads and ganopsoma from yesterday, so it's just perfection. So good.